Welcome, my friends, to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, and I'm thrilled you're joining me today for a fun conversation with a passionate author. We're kicking off the program, like it's our tradition, with a short reading from the feature book. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started.
Hello, my name is Andy Temte, and I am the author of Balancing Act: Teach, Coach, Mentor, and Inspire. I'm the former Chief Executive Officer of Kaplan Professional. I'm a finance professor by training. I went to the University of Iowa, earned my PhD there. 22 years at a wonderful company called Kaplan, whose mission is to create Yahoo moments for individuals all around the world who are earning a licensure or credential or some type of educational journey. I just retired on January 1st of this year. I'm going to be doing some podcasting and continue my writing. We'll just dive right into one of my favorite leadership lessons, which is you are responsible for your own wake. I am a boater and have been plying the waters of the upper Mississippi River since I was a boy. One of the most important lessons you learn as a boater is that you are responsible for your own wake. The wake you throw off depends on the size, weight, and speed of your vessel. The waves that your boat generates can damage the environment, destroy property, and cause personal injury. Therefore, as an experienced boater, you're constantly evaluating your surroundings and anticipating the impact your wake will have on other boaters and the shoreline. On balance, boaters are a curiously courteous and helpful group of people. On the water, people wave at total strangers as if they're best friends, and they look out for one another when they find someone in distress. This makes sense when you realize that any body of water can turn from idyllic to treacherous in the blink of an eye. The wake your boat creates is an integral part of the ecosystem and can be quite damaging if not managed carefully. One day, we were enjoying a beautiful Sunday afternoon on the Mississippi with a few of our friends and family, including my wife's then 101-year-old grandmother. Our boat is classified as a cruiser, which is basically a motorhome that floats. As we were putting along, another large vessel approached our stern at full speed and was throwing off a huge wave. It passed me with just 75 feet of clearance on our starboard side, leaving me no time to course correct or prepare for the impact of its weight. Our boat rocked violently, sending appetizers and grandmother flying. Fortunately, no one was interested and no damage was caused, but it could have been much worse. If it had been, both the pilot and the owner of the other boat would have been directly accountable for any damage that occurred. A boat's wake is a temporary but potentially powerful reminder of its presence on the water. The bigger the boat, the greater level of responsibility that the captain bears. So here's the point. Leaders at all levels leave a wake as they interact with the organization. The higher up you are in the company, the bigger the wake you throw off. It is your responsibility to be aware of your wake and the impact it could have on individuals and teams, both within your immediate surroundings as well as further downstream. Most experienced leaders will immediately connect with the point of this parable. If you're an experienced leader, I'm sure you can recall times where something you did or said inadvertently had a lasting negative impact on a team or a team member. You likely learned from that experience and vowed to improve your level of awareness of the impact you have on others. However, there are those senior managers whose egos and lack of behavioral training limit their ability to understand how their wake impacts their surroundings. These managers likely reached their level in the organization based on technical expertise, but never really invested themselves in grooming their emotional intelligence skill set. The best managers continually optimize the balance between their technical and behavioral skills, They have a keen understanding of their surroundings and the impact they can have on others. High performing leaders also carefully balance their views as they look into the future by ensuring that previous decisions and interactions have not had unintended negative consequences on their environment.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. And happy 100th episode, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. I am still doing a happy dance. I know 2 weeks ago we celebrated 2 years. Now we're doing 100. It's been a busy couple of weeks. What can I say? So, today, to help us celebrate, we have the talented and multifaceted Mr. Andrew. How are you today?
I am doing wonderfully.
I am excited you're here to talk to us about leadership because there's so many layers. I was like, wait, you went to finance, you're writing books, and you're in a band. All these pictures are trying to come together in my head. So we're just going to start talking.
Sure.
Let's start with the book. Why did you decide to write this? And by the way, that was such a perfect chapter because I know so many people that should read that and be like, oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So I started writing stories back in 2017 that were meant for my team members at Kaplan primarily. It was a way for me as a senior leader in the organization to let people know what I was thinking and what my opinions were on various subjects. As I was writing each of those stories, it very quickly dawned on me that I would have a product that would be pointed very squarely at upper level managers within companies, of which there are many, many of these people who aren't quite the ultimate boss of their business, but still in significant leadership roles. My tongue in cheek for that is the mid level senior manager, is the person I was originally writing to. But after I got going, it was very apparent that this concept of balance was what was really coming out of these stories and that they were applicable to individual contributors, to senior leaders, to folks working in institutions. That's kind of the background for how we got started.
Your connection to the level and be able to actually break it down in a way that anybody can understand it is amazing. Sometimes we talk leadership concepts and they get so technical that somebody who wants to get into leadership cannot connect. So you have broken it down in an essence that anybody can go, oh, I might not have experience as a leader, but I understand that. I understand what that can cause to my organization. You have years in this business. How much of this have you seen in Kaplan? How did you address these things?
We started on an organizational health and continuous improvement journey right after the Great Recession, essentially. So 2011, 2012, after we were coming out of that. So it's been a good 10 years. I started out in my leadership career very much as Andy said, my way or the highway. This is how we're doing things. Here, everybody, come and follow me. And we're getting good results as a business. We're creating those Yahoo moments for students all around the world. But what we were really lacking was getting the most out of all of the participants in the business. I recognized that by cajoling of others, that my approach of showing up to work in an impenetrable suit of armor and not really being myself and really asking everybody else to do the same thing wasn't driving the kind of collaboration and diversity of thought and opinion and diversity of human beings in the business. I would hire people that looked like me, thought like me. And what you get is kind of speed to market and, oh, everybody thinks the same. We're going to do really well. But that you're just missing a whole trick in that kind of environment. It was a painful process, but very, very rewarding because once you start to include more voices in your business, you just have a much more rich experience to tap into.
You guys were feeling it a little bit more than the rest of the country. Now you hear diversion and inclusion a lot in the last couple of years, and everybody's trying to become much more focused. You were doing this before it became a trend, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, doing it without knowing that we were doing it, right? Diversity and inclusion to me means more than am I hiring a balanced set of human beings in my business? It's about those voices, it's about those opinions and getting the most. A lot of people call it bringing your whole self into the world of work and taking off that emotional suit of armor and bringing the best of the multidimensional you into the business, because that wonderful hobby that you have that you've honed over 10,000 hours, I found that those can really help round you and make you more approachable and make you more human in the world of work.
For the book right now that you have, what else can our readers and listeners expect to get out of this book? Because it's very exciting to see a leadership book that has very practical advice. What else can they get?
I start off in a non obvious place, which is I go right for active disengagement within your employment ranks as a business. Engagement surveys are very common across, especially large businesses. Even mid sized businesses do regular engagement surveys to see how engaged are your people. A lot of the human resources and learning managers that run those surveys, when they get the results, they're kind of looking for the movable middle. What's the indifferent set of employees that are in the middle that we can apply some effort to engage them a bit more? That's all fine and good. That's highest and best use kind of use of time and energy. But there's a part of, especially if you're in a larger company, there's a part of your employment population that's actively disengaged, meaning they don't want to be there. They're actively working against everything that you're trying to do and really try to shed light on the damage that can be caused to your business reputationally, from profit perspective, and especially this concept of you are what you allow. If you allow the actively disengaged to keep running all over, and you as a leader might not see it on a day-to-day basis, but they're creating a lot emotional challenges within your business, and folks that are trying really hard and they're bringing their best to work, and they see that you give a pass to Susie because she might have some really great skill, but boy, she really upsets everybody else by all of her funny business, and you allow that to occur. Hey, why should I bring my best to work when management really doesn't seem to care?
Usually, a lot of managers don't see the impact of not correcting those negative behaviors and spend a lot of time putting more work on their good employees. What advice would you give a manager in that situation?
This concept of the high potential, HR leaders call them hypos. The high potentials in your business, they do get dumped on. They get that next project and then the next one and the next one because frankly, the manager is being lazy. Oh, I got this rock star over here. I'm going to give all the work to them. That individual burns out. And everybody else that's around watching this happen is going really in the back of our minds, hey, what about me? I'd like a development opportunity, but a lazy manager is going to see their high potentials, identify them, give them the education and the development experiences, and keep kind of doubling down on their high potentials. And again, another trick that's missed is you've got wonderful people around you that may have some of the skills that you need, but not all of them. And it costs a lot more to fire that person and go out and hire in the outside market. And there's proof for that, than
Oh,
it
yeah.
is to provide the training that Billy is going in the back of his mind going, hey, I can contribute more. Hey, listen to me. I'd like to go. And that manager that can see that, and again, back to diversity and inclusion, be more inclusive with their educational opportunities to grow Billy into the high performer that DC is. That is where the magic really starts to happen, because then everybody starts to see that you really care about everybody and not just that high potential that you keep dumping all the work on.
And like the fact that there is a way out of that mess, that managers, supervisors are not stuck trying to spin their wheels in the same spot, but that they can do something about it.
The key is education. A lot of leaders and managers, don't feel that it's their job to educate. And I'm here to tell you, as an academic professor, I've led higher education institutions, I've led companies, and several thousand people reporting to me that it is your job to educate. It is your job to teach and to coach. And that's why the tagline of the book is what it is, because coaching is like fundamental to your job as a manager. And so many managers, they don't get that at all. And again, they're missing out tremendously in terms of being able to develop their team and have great results that come off the back of that.
It's a very narrow view of what they're working on, and they're not seeing that 6 months down the line. What does that look like? When you were working on this book, did you consider making it a series or this is a standalone? What did you had in mind?
There's a workbook that I'm actively in the process of developing right now. This particular book is a lot of the what and the why. I think some fairly interesting stories that paint the picture of the challenges that you can have if you're not actively engaged in a continuous improvement and organizational health journey. The workbook is in progress. And then in the back of my mind, a little more forward than that is another book. I've got the title and the frame already. It's I Was, I Am, I Will Become.
Ooh, that's a really good title.
I love the title. Now I got to put all the words against it and the stories, but it's going to be a bunch of personal stories from my perspective of I'm 58 years old. I was a wrestler. I will never be a wrestler again. I'm okay with that. But what did I learn from being a wrestler that I can apply to my current self? All of those things that I was part of the book, the things that I've done that I really will never do again, but that help to formulate me as the unique individual that I am. Then a short segment on I am, and then there'll be this I will become. And it's going to be a book for everybody, but really for people who are getting more experienced, because the more experienced they calcify, they get fixed mindsets, they stop learning, they stop growing. And 58 plus year old people, we've got a lot to contribute, but we've just got to get this. There's a blank slate of I will become, and there's a blank slate for all of us. We don't have to stop. And frankly, we shouldn't stop.
Most people get very overwhelmed once they hit a certain age and they feel that they have hit that, pinnacle of their lives or their careers and don't realize they're just getting started. At 58, 60, as you're getting ready to transition from one career if you decided to retire, there's a whole new world out there that you can do. Do you agree with that? By the way, you're in a band. Eventually, you're going to have to explain that, but okay.
Well, I'll do it right now. We're writing new music. The band's been together for 17 years, and out of necessity, we're a classic rock cover band that whose focus is a fun philanthropic midlife crisis. That's our motto. That's our theme, if you will. A simpler way of putting it is rocking out and doing good. I've had songs that are in the back of my head, original music. And now at 58, we're codifying that and we're writing that down. And I've got our son Nicholas working with us, a different generational perspective, a different set of skills. So we've got one song that's out in the wild with a music video, and we've got another one launching in a couple of weeks. By the time this episode airs, it'll be out there on Spotify, etc. But there's so much more. If we all just adopt a lifelong learning mindset, some people call it a growth mindset. As an educator, I think of it as a lifelong learning mindset, and that we can continue to contribute at really any age. That's part of the journey that I'm on, and that's part of the journey that I hope for your listeners.
Is such a good way to look at the world to be able to say, okay, I'm going to continue to grow. I'm going to continue to develop from a leadership perspective. What advice would you give a young leader? And then the same thing from a writer's perspective, what would you tell a young writer?
What I would say to a young leader is get over yourself. That's like the first thing. You get into that first managerial job and chest puffs out and you think, now I'm in charge. Now I'm going to really tell everybody what to do. The sooner you can realize that people are your most valuable asset, it's not the things, it's not the technology, it's the human beings working together. Then the second that you can wrap your head around the fact that everybody's a unique human being, everybody thinks and hears and listens differently, and everybody's got something really valuable to contribute, and it's your job to identify that, to pull that out, to help develop that. Then you immediately become less of that kind of firefighter, everything's a crisis, and we just move from one thing to another, to being able to see the bigger picture and being able to tap in to those hidden talents and those cross collaborative teams working together on projects. And the quicker you realize it's less about you than it is about being a steward of the business, then all that firefighting, you're still going to have to do it, but that becomes less of your modus operandi and you become more of a development and a growth leader. And that's the path to success. I've been a writer my whole life. I've written technical manuals. I've written thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of finance materials for chartered financial analysts. And you just got to do it to start writing and keep at it. And it's not all going to be perfect and not everybody's going to connect with your message, but just keep growing, keep writing, keep learning. That's what I would say to a young writer.
Both of those advice are right on point and so practical. I so appreciate it because sometimes we can give advice and get either too vague or so complicated than people going, ooh, I don't know if I can do that. So thank you, Mr. Andrew. We can chit chat forever. You still have a very busy day. So where can our listeners find the book? Where can they learn more about you? Where are you at? Tell us.
So I'm at andrewtemte.com. So the book, our podcast, my Saturday morning muse, which I do every Saturday morning on andrewtemte.com, as well as some of the music that our son and I are putting out under the name of our band, The Remainders. You can find our band on Facebook at The Remainders, facebook.com/The Remainders. You can find our band at theremainders.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to see you on LinkedIn, and we're on Facebook, small presence on Instagram, and I'm tweeting every LinkedIn post I do ends up on Twitter. That's where you can find me.
Easy peasy. Everybody can kind of figure out where you're going, where they want to know they have any questions, they can hit you up. Before you go, we have our lightning round. Are you ready for us?
Absolutely.
Let's go. Apple cider or pumpkin spice?
Apple cider.
Nice. Breakfast or dinner?
Oh, breakfast.
You have to think about it. You're like, oh, which one? Rock or country music?
Mic drop. Rock and roll.
I figured that one. That was a little, yes. Fall or spring?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one, but you're looking for a quick answer. So I would say fall.
Okay. That's a pretty good one. This one it's a little different. Let's see how you do. If you could meet any famous person, dead or alive, who would you like to meet?
Geddy Lee.
Really? Why?
Geddy Lee is the bass player of my favorite band, Rush. I've admired Geddy for most of my life. His voice and my voice are very kind of similar in terms of range and timbre. So I've been singing Rush songs since I was 15 years old. That would be hands down my first choice.
Ooh, I love it. Mr. Andrews, it's been a pleasure to have you. Do you have any closing remarks to us?
Just keep the light shining in your eyes.
It's beautiful. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Congratulations on the book. I can't wait to hear when the other ones are coming. So keep on writing. To our listeners, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Happy 100th episode. Thank you for joining us in this amazing journey. Go ahead, give this episode a like wherever you're listening to, wherever you're joining us from. Send us a note, let us know what you think. Thank you to our amazing Patreon community for supporting us, and I will see you guys all next week for another amazing author. Bye.